My best friend smiled to my face but told everyone I was a loser behind my back. So, at her birthday party, I left a USB drive on the table and watched her face turn white. So picture this. I'm 24, working as a librarian, minding my own business and thinking I've got this solid friendship with my girl Maddie from college. We've been tight for like 6 years, you know? The kind of friendship where you think you'd take a bullet for each other. Man, was I wrong about that. It all started at this house party last month. Nothing fancy, just some friends hanging out. Couple of Bud Lights going around, typical Saturday night vibe. Maddie was doing her usual thing, being the center of attention, cracking jokes, making everyone laugh. I was cool with that, honestly. She's always been the outgoing one while I'm more the quiet type who actually listens when people talk. But then I went to grab another drink from the kitchen, and that's when I heard it. Maddie's voice carrying from the living room loud and clear over the music. She was telling some story, and I caught my name. Naturally, I stopped to listen because, hey, maybe she was saying something nice about me, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. Oh, my God, you guys should see her at work, Maddie was saying, and I could hear the laughter in her voice. She literally spends all day organizing books like it's some kind of rocket science. And don't even get me started on her wardrobe. Girl shops exclusively at Target clearance racks. I keep trying to help her, but she's just so basic, you know? I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. These people were laughing at me. My best friend was roasting me for entertainment, and I was standing there in my Target jeans feeling like the biggest fool on the planet. But wait, it gets worse. So much worse. I didn't say anything that night. Went home, felt sorry for myself, figured maybe she was just drunk and didn't mean it. You know how it is when you want to believe the best in people. But something was eating at me, so I decided to do some digging. Update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support so far. I know this is getting long, but trust me, it gets wild. Quick question though, would you have confronted her right there at the party or done what I did? Because what I found next made me realize this wasn't just a one-time thing. Remember those group chats we all have? The ones where everyone just talks nonsense and shares memes? Well, Maddie had been in several with our mutual friends, and thanks to good old Google Photos backup, I had access to some screenshots I'd taken months ago for completely unrelated reasons. Going through those old messages was like watching a horror movie where you're the victim and you didn't even know it. For literally years, Maddie had been feeding our friends stories about me. Not just casual mention in passing stuff, but full-blown character assassination. There was the time she told everyone I was desperately trying to get with this guy from our college psychology class, when really I just asked him for notes, because I'd missed a lecture. She made it sound like I was some kind of stalker. Then there was the whole thing about my family's financial situation. My parents aren't rich, dad works construction, mom's a nurse, but we're doing fine. Maddie somehow turned this into me being charity case poor and claimed she had to take care of me financially. News to me, considering I'd been paying for half our dinners and had lent her money multiple times that she never paid back. The worst part? She was using my private conversations as material. Remember those late-night talks best friends have? Where you share your insecurities and fears? Yeah, she was broadcasting all of that. My anxiety about whether I was good enough at my job, my worries about being single, my body image issues. It was all entertainment for her audience. I spent 3 days going through everything, making screenshots, organizing it all. By the end, I had a whole folder of evidence showing exactly what kind of person my best friend really was. That's when it hit me. This wasn't friendship. This was me being someone's personal entertainment system. I was the joke that made her look cooler by comparison, the sidekick who made her feel like the star. You know what's crazy? Looking back, all the signs were there. She never really celebrated my wins. When I got promoted to head librarian, she made some joke about how someone has to be in charge of the books. When I started dating this really sweet guy last year, she kept making comments about how he was punching above his weight class, meaning me, apparently. And the money thing, man, that burns. She was always forgetting her wallet when we went out. Always needed to borrow 20 here, 50 there. Meanwhile, she's telling people she's financially supporting me. That's some next level manipulation right there. But here's the thing about being the quiet one in the friendship. You notice everything. You remember everything. And when you finally decide to speak up, you come prepared. Maddie's birthday party was coming up. Big blowout at her apartment, catered food, open bar, the whole 9 yards. She'd been planning it for months, inviting everyone we knew from college plus her work friends. It was going to be her moment to shine, surrounded by all the people she'd been performing for. Perfect. I spent a week putting together what I now call the Maddie files. Screenshots organized by date and topic, audio recordings from parties where she'd trash-talked me, thinking I was out of earshot. Even some photos where you could see her rolling her eyes or making faces when she thought I wasn't looking. Then I put it all on a USB drive. Added a simple text file that said, "Play this before the birthday toast. Trust me, you'll want to see it. From someone who cares about the truth. Update." Okay, so I'm getting some messages asking if I really went through with it. The answer is yes, and it was absolutely wild. But before I get to the main event, let me ask you this. Was I wrong for what I did next? Because once I pressed play, there was no going back. The night of the party, I showed up fashionably late. Maddie was in full hostess mode, wearing this gorgeous dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, holding court in the center of her living room. She gave me one of those big fake hugs when I walked in. "I'm so glad you made it," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You look cute, in my Target dress that I'd actually thought looked pretty good." But whatever, I had bigger plans. I mingled for about an hour, nursing a beer, watching Maddie work the room. She was in her element, making people laugh, taking selfies, being the perfect party girl. Everyone was having a great time. Around 9 o'clock, people started gathering for the birthday toast. Maddie had this whole setup, a projector connected to her laptop for showing photos, speakers for music, the works. She loved technology when it served her purposes. That's when I made my move. I walked over to the laptop while she was distracted. Greeting some late arrivals, plugged in my USB drive, opened the folder, set everything up to display on the big screen. Then I melted back into the crowd and waited. Maddie's roommate called for everyone's attention. Okay, everyone, before we do the toast, Maddie has some photos she wants to share from the past year. Maddie beamed, grabbing the laptop. Oh, this is going to be so fun. Just some memories from all our adventures together. She hit play. The first thing that came up was a screenshot of her group chat from 3 months ago. Big, bold text on the wall for everyone to see. Seriously, hanging out with her is like babysitting sometimes. She has zero personality and dresses like she shops at Goodwill. The room went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Maddie's face went from party hostess bright to chalk white in about 2 seconds. She frantically clicked to close it, but the next screenshot was already loading. Then the next. Then the audio file started playing. Her own voice filled the room. I mean, I feel bad for her, but someone has to tell her that being a librarian isn't actually a personality trait, you know? People started looking around at each other, then at me, then at Maddie. The energy in that room shifted so fast it was like watching someone flip a switch. Turn it off, Maddie said, her voice shaky. She was clicking frantically, but I'd organized everything in a slideshow format. This is taken out of context, but the evidence kept rolling. Message after message, recording after recording. 2 years worth of her dragging me through the mud for entertainment value. Someone in the back said, "Holy crap, Maddie." Another person, "This is really messed up." Maddie finally managed to close the laptop, but the damage was done. 30 people had just watched her get completely exposed for being a fake friend. The party atmosphere was dead and buried. Look, this is all just, she started, but I stepped forward. Just what, Maddie? I said, and my voice was calm, steady. Just jokes? Just harmless fun? Just 2 years of you using me as your personal punching bag to make yourself look better? She stared at me like she'd seen a ghost. You went through my private messages? Screenshots. I already had, I said, from our group chats that I was part of, and recordings from parties where you talked about me loud enough for everyone to hear except me. Nothing private about it. The room was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning humming. People were starting to grab their coats. I trusted you, I continued. I told you things I never told anyone else, and you turned it all into entertainment. You borrowed money from me while telling people you were supporting me. You smiled to my face and stabbed me in the back for years. Maddie's eyes were filling up with tears, but I was done being the person who felt sorry for her. I never meant, it was just talk, you know? You didn't think I'd find out. That's different from not meaning it. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Half the party followed me out. Update. So that was 3 weeks ago. And wow, the aftermath has been something else. People have been asking what happened next, so here's the update. And let me just say, karma works in mysterious ways. The question is, should I feel bad about how this all played out? The next morning, my phone started blowing up. But not from Maddie, from our mutual friends. Apparently, after I left, the party completely fell apart. People started sharing their own stories about things Maddie had said behind their backs. Turns out I wasn't the only one getting the treatment. Sarah, who I'd always thought was closer to Maddie than to me, texted me this long apology. She said she'd always felt like something was off about how Maddie talked about people, but she'd never connected the dots until that night. She'd been getting the same treatment. Maddie would trash talk her to other people while acting like her best friend. Then Jake from college reached out. Remember that guy I mentioned earlier? The one Maddie said I was desperately trying to get with? Turns out she told him I was obsessed with him and to stay away from me. We'd actually gotten along great in class, but he'd started avoiding me because he thought I was some kind of stalker. We ended up meeting for coffee to clear the air, and he apologized for believing her without talking to me first. The domino effect was real. People started comparing notes, and a picture emerged of Maddie as someone who manipulated social situations by spreading gossip and half-truths. She'd been playing everyone against each other for years. Meanwhile, Maddie herself was in full damage control mode. She tried calling me probably 50 times that first week. When I didn't answer, she started texting these long messages about how sorry she was, how she never meant to hurt me, how she was just insecure and made bad choices. I read the first few, but they all followed the same pattern. Lots of excuses, but I was going through a hard time, and I was just trying to fit in. Not once did she actually take responsibility for what she'd done. It was all about how her actions were somehow justified by her feelings, so I blocked her number. Her social media presence took a major hit too. Word spread fast about what happened at the party, and people started unfollowing her in droves. The comments on her posts went from dozens of heart eye emojis to maybe 3 likes from people who probably didn't know the whole story. She tried to throw a makeup party 2 weeks later, some kind of let's all just move past this celebration. 5 people showed up. 5. To give you context, her regular parties usually packed 30 or 40 people into her apartment. But here's the thing that really got me. She started spreading a new story. According to the Maddie version of events, I was jealous of her success and couldn't handle her honesty. She was telling anyone who'd listen that I'd invaded her privacy and manipulated evidence to make her look bad. Some people bought it. A couple of her work friends who didn't know the full story started giving me dirty looks when I'd run into them around town. But most people had seen the evidence with their own eyes. Screenshots don't lie. And her own voice saying those things was pretty hard to explain away. The craziest part? I started feeling free, like genuinely happy for the first time in years. I hadn't realized how much energy I'd been spending trying to manage Maddie's moods and keep her happy with me. Without that constant worry about whether I was good enough for my best friend, I had so much more mental space for other things. I started a book blog, something I'd always wanted to do, but never had the confidence to try. Turns out, being a librarian actually gives you some credibility when it comes to book recommendations. Who knew? The blog took off way faster than I expected. People were actually interested in what I had to say about literature. I also reconnected with some old friends I'd lost touch with because Maddie didn't like them. Remember how she always had opinions about who I should and shouldn't hang out with? Yeah, those people she didn't approve of turned out to be pretty amazing once I gave them a chance again. Sarah and I became genuine friends. Not the fake kind where someone's always performing, but the real kind where you can be comfortable in silence together. Jake and I started hanging out too, and while nothing romantic developed, he's become a solid friend who actually values my opinion. The money situation resolved itself in an unexpected way. I'd never asked Maddie to pay back what she owed me because I didn't want to make things awkward. But after the party incident, she sent me a Venmo payment for the full amount, about $600 total, with a note that said, "We're even now, even." Like paying back money she'd borrowed somehow, balanced out years of betrayal. But hey, I wasn't going to turn down $600. 3 weeks later, I'm sitting in my apartment on a Friday night, working on my blog, drinking some decent wine instead of cheap beer, and I realize something. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not hurt. I'm not even thinking about Maddie unless someone brings her up. I'm just happy, content, living my own life instead of being a supporting character in someone else's drama. My phone buzzes, text from an unknown number, but I recognize the typing style immediately. Maddie's gotten a new phone number. I miss our friendship. Can we please talk? I stare at the message for about 30 seconds, then delete it without responding. Block the number. Some bridges aren't worth rebuilding, you know? Some people show you exactly who they are, and when they do, you should believe them the first time. I've got book reviews to write, genuine friendships to nurture, and a life to live. That doesn't revolve around being someone else's punching bag. Maddie can figure out her own stuff, and honestly, I've never been happier to be the quiet one who just organizes books and shops at Target. Turns out being authentic beats being popular every single time. The best part is, I know exactly who my real friends are now. They're the ones who stuck around after the drama died down, who value me for who I actually am instead of what I can do for them. Quality over quantity. For real. As for Maddie, last I heard, she was trying to rebrand herself as some kind of self-help influencer, posting about learning from mistakes and growing as a person. Good for her, I guess, but I won't be following that journey. I've got my own story to write. Now, and for the first time in years, I'm the main character.